So, I'm going to share with you my hypotheses on chakras today. My thing about spiritualism, as you guys are aware, is I love that we can prove this stuff. I just think that's cool. You don't need to still experience yourself as a spiritual being. I just think it's kind of nifty that we can do that these days, right? This is the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is all about, understanding and discovery and thought and the advancement of sciences and this kind of thing. And I talk a lot about what the soul is and about metaphysical energy, what exactly the ego mind itself is, how that works, what all the different components are, and who you are beyond all that too. But something that I haven't really talked a lot about is chakras and what exactly a chakra is. And guys, I don't feel like I have all the answers. I know a lot about a lot, and you can prove a lot of this stuff. And again, the reason that I like to say that you can prove this stuff is because I am extremely knowledgeable about physics and engineering and this kind of thing. And you guys, I see the parallels between the things that physics is discovering about our own universe and how it works and who you are as a mortal human who at your core is spiritual, right? So the three-part triune being, body, mind, soul, what that thing is and how it functions and how you are connected to the universe of mind, to quote mathematician Greg Shaiton and several physicists. They're going to tell you, we think the universe is mind. And I just think it's really fascinating how we are intimately connected to that, right? And, twin flames too, like how that works. It proves out a lot of these different laws of the universe. Isn't that interesting? Okay. So here's the thing with chakras. Here's my hypothesis about chakras. And again, a lot of this other kind of stuff, I can prove this stuff. It's easy to prove this stuff using already existing science, right? And simple known laws of the universe, like the second law of thermodynamics, for example. But chakras, all I have are some hypotheses. I don't know that I have a lot that I can prove about chakras. I can prove everything else that I've talked about on this YouTube channel to date. And that's exciting. But chakras are a little bit of a mystery to me, but I'll share with you what my ideas are about that. So basically, what I believe to be going on with chakras is that they are tiny little black holes. Serious. So here's the thing with what appears to be going on with a chakra versus a black hole, why they are similar. So if I had to make a diagram of a black hole, what we know of black holes is you could basically make a big circle and then put a dot right in the middle of it. Now, the dot is something called a singularity. The circle represents, I guess, what you would call the border of the black hole. It's called an event horizon, right? An event horizon is the place where energy, light, matter, nothing can escape the pull of the black hole. If you're anywhere outside of the event horizon, you could theoretically escape the black hole, even though just barely, right? And it's a sliding scale of your ability to do that. And the best example of something that could do that would be light, right? So you in a spacecraft, you might not be able to do that. I don't think you would stand a chance because you can't get anywhere near the speed of light. But light is going the speed of light. And it's, the thing that, light, the kind of the rule of the universe is nothing can travel faster than light. That we know of. in the physical observed universe. It seems to be, that theory seems to be getting modified a little bit, not turned on its head, but modified, where when you go to higher planes, information seems to be able to travel instantaneously. And so they're thinking that maybe light is simply the border of the physical universe. But there's another dimension to the universe that's non-physical, where you can have something going faster than light. And we would call that something information. Okay, and this is where the theory of information realism came from. And of course, this is a product of when they proved quantum entanglement and how information seems to be traveling faster than light. And their thinking is maybe the information is not traveling through the physical universe. And maybe the information doesn't travel at all. Maybe there's no traveling. Maybe there's no going from one place to the other. It's just all one thing. And as soon as I say it's just all one thing, that first thing that makes me think of is spiritualism, which is all non-duality, right? Now, here I labeled it source. I should probably redo this diagram and maybe under here put non-duality or consciousness, right? Because in spiritualism, in the discipline of spiritualism, you have the duality of mind, right? And also physical reality. But you also have the non-duality, oneness of the true self, okay? Which is not separated from anything at all. And it's not that you're connected to everything. It's that there's one thing. That's all of it. And you are that. And, you know, maybe the first degree of separation is where you become an individual soul. That is a thing. Obviously, we've got twin flames. We can demonstrate, you know, that reincarnation is real, that you do have an individualized soul. But what I'm talking about here is when you go to the deepest level, where we're all connected, and you're connected also to all the trees and the stars and the sky and everything, right? So that's non-duality. And it's very paradoxical. It's the complete absence of concept or what we would think of as reality whatsoever. There's no thing and there's no nothing. There's not an object and there's not empty space. There's not a place, right? Like if you were to ask a physicist, where did the Big Bang happen? They're going to go, it didn't happen anywhere. Before the Big Bang, there was no such thing as place. There was no up, there was no down, there was no side to side. There wasn't even emptiness. Because if you try to imagine what was there before the universe, what was there before the Big Bang, the first thing the mind thinks of is like an empty void. But you can't have that either. Because that's one of the two things that you can't pick, right? Like if I was to ask you, what would you have if you had neither thing nor nothing? The mind always diverts to nothingness. But that's one of the things that you can't pick, right? And it hurts your brain to think about it. But that's the thing, is that's non-duality. It's beyond concept. It's beyond mind. You cannot understand it. But what you can do is experience it. You are that at your very core. So that's the discipline of spiritualism. Now, in science, got the same thing. Relativity, things being relative, separateness. There's a this and there's a that. There's a greater and a lesser. There's a denser and a less dense, right? There's a here and a there. There's a past and a future. There's an up and a down. Relativity, right? Okay. And then the opposite of that in the discipline of science, of course, is called a singularity. Singularity is the complete breakdown of the universe as we know it. At least as far as we know. I mean, there's physicists that argue about that all day long. But what's generally accepted in the science community is pretty much what I just told you. I know that I'm giving you kind of a super basic, maybe oversimplified explanation of these things. Some of you who are watching this video, I can already hear the keyboard warriors pounding on their keyboard. Kurt, you're not explaining it right. God damn it. There's this other thing here. And I get that. I get that. There are variants, you got string theory, you've got all these other variants. That's all great. I'm just trying to keep it simple today, guys. This is the basics of what we know about science and spiritualism and where they converge. Now, the center of a black hole is a singularity as far as we know. We've never been able to observe one because nothing can escape the event horizon. Remember, a black hole, big circle with a dot in the middle. The dot in the middle is a singularity. It's the complete breakdown of duality, of relativity, of reality as we know it. Thing, nothing. You don't have any of that. Okay? It's not a place. And a singularity, in theory, is getting infinitely smaller and infinitely dense all the time. And also, its gravity is increasing infinitely as well. And that was the key that tipped me off about chakras, which we'll get to in a minute. But the event horizon, again, that's the place where information cannot escape the black hole at all. Not even light. If you're an inch away, if you're a ray of light and you're an inch away from the event horizon and you really wanted to get away from that black hole, you could do it. It would take a long time, but theoretically, right? But once you cross that event horizon, you cannot escape. The pull of gravity is so strong, nothing can escape, not even light. So we can't look into a black hole and see what's going on in there. It's just a theory on a chalkboard. Although a darn good one, because mathematics has proven to be extremely reliable. And from what we can tell, based on calculation, yeah, that's kind of what's going on inside of a black hole. You've got space always curving in on itself more and more and more until you get to the very center, to the singularity. Okay? And that's where space becomes infinitely dense and gravity is increasing infinitely all the time. Black holes, they tend to form in our universe as a result of the collapse of certain stars. There are certain celestial objects that they have to be within a certain range of size and density for them to become a black hole. Now, what's interesting about black holes, and this was theorized by Einstein's equations. He came up with this in the 1920s, before they even knew whether this was going to be true or not. He said, if my theory is true, you may one day find something called gravity waves. So this is where we're going to start making connections to chakras. Okay? So if you're still with me, good for you. Give yourself a pat on the back. I haven't lost you yet. I'm giving you all the sciencey stuff. We're kind of geeking out today, right? But he said, in theory, if you had two black holes, I don't know if it was Einstein or somebody who used Einstein's theories to figure this out. I think it's the latter. But this was a long time ago. This is 1920s, 1930s. If you have two black holes that are kind of orbiting each other, it should create a phenomenon called gravity waves. And that was in the 1920s, 30s, right? When somebody theorized that that could happen. We didn't have the technology to detect gravity waves, and we barely have it now. Guess what they discovered, guys? You guessed it, gravity waves. Gravity waves that travel across a long distance, and they just discovered them, 10 or 15 years ago. It was pretty recent. And that's happened a lot. Just to find a black hole at all was a real breakthrough. They first discovered them, they first started noticing them in the 1960s. And again, Einstein's theory predicted black holes like in the 20s, right? So his theory has predicted a lot of different things that turned out to come true decades later. Isn't that cool? So again, math can be very reliable. We can know a lot of this stuff about black holes. Well, anyway, the thing is, guys, you're a creator. You are a manifester. The law of attraction is always working all the time, even if you don't realize it, right? Everybody on Earth, most people are just creating unconsciously, right? 7 billion unconscious creators. And you guys, I think you're all, if you're watching this video, anybody that's watching this video, you guys are probably seasoned enough spiritual people to know that stuff. I'm kind of proud of my audience. You guys tend to be pretty smart about this stuff. And yeah, you know, that's a thing, right? Like everybody's always manifesting whether they know it or not. Well, what happens with the law of attraction is you put energy out, right? And then it comes back to you. It's the law of attraction, right? Well, guess what a gravity wave is doing? Interesting, because think about it. It's gravity. Gravity is an attractive force. And if you're sending waves of gravity out away from you, you're sending something out into the universe, which also has an attractive quality to it. It is an attractive force. Do you guys see the connection I'm making here? Because that's exactly what black hole pairs are doing. Black hole pairs, when they orbit one another, they're sending this attractive force, a gravity wave, out into the universe. Well, what are you doing when you manifest? Right. So you can see kind of where I came up with this hypothesis that chakras are actually little black holes sending consciousness waves out into the universe, which ultimately acts as a magnetic attractive, not magnetic, but a gravitational attractive force that draws things to you. And you've got 7 major chakras. There's more, right? There's, there's like 5 more above your crown chakra, and there's like little chakras on your knuckles and all throughout your body. But the major chakras are these 7 here in your body, right? And all you need are 2 black holes to create any gravity waves at all. Well, what would happen if you had 7 black holes all together in a row? Do you think you would create some interesting waves? I think so too, guys. I think so too. So that's kind of what got me going down the rabbit hole, that I think chakras are, they operate like black holes. I don't necessarily know that they are literal black holes, but they seem to operate like black holes, right? The mechanism is the same. And this also made sense to me because of how we aren't able to remember past lives with our conscious mind. So intuition, which it just so happens, I mean, if you want to go watch my recent video called Twin Flame Telepathy, I believe it posted this last Monday here, if I'm not mistaken. I'm getting my dates mixed up. I hope I'm right about that. Twin Flame Telepathy, I actually explained in great detail what intuition is. And the thing is, when you go get a past life regression, the past life regressionist, basically what they're doing is they're accessing the Akashic record, right? Well, they're going beyond that telepathic barrier, that metaphysical barrier of duality. And this is something else I explained in that video, which is that telepathy is thought. So it isn't any different than your conscious or subconscious mind, okay? When a past life regressionist is reading on you, they're going beyond duality, guys. They're accessing your higher self, or perhaps the Akashic record, but they're going beyond duality, okay? They're accessing the non-duality of self. And the thing is, you can do that from the spiritual level. You cannot do that from the mental level. That's why you don't consciously remember your past lives or future lives, okay? And just, I know there's holes in this theory. I get it. Some of you could be going, well, Kurt, that doesn't make sense because of this. That's fine. Like I said at the beginning of this video, this is a very rough hypothesis that I have about all this stuff, but it kind of makes sense because here's the thing. With a black hole, information cannot escape the event horizon. Well, with my theory about chakras at least, or hypothesis about chakras, information cannot escape your chakra, right? So the singularity, which is at the very center of the chakra, if that's how that works, that would be this, wouldn't it? It would be your soul or source or something. It would be that point of no return. It would be that singularity. And remember, what do all the spiritual teachers call consciousness? They call it non-duality. They call it non-duality. Right, singularity. Singularity, not dual, not two, but one. Singularity, non-duality. That's consciousness. That's your soul. So it's almost like chakras are little access points. It's like the infrastructure where your soul actually connects to your metaphysical astral body. This whole mechanism. Thoughts, emotions, telepathy, right? Metaphysical energy and chakras, this whole body, the whole energetic body, not your physical body, but the metaphysical astral body, right? Not the soul, but the metaphysical energetic part. Remember, body, mind, soul, right? So I'm talking about the mind. So that's where the soul connects to the metaphysical astral body. That's what I think is going on, is chakras are like little connection points that connect your soul to your physical and metaphysical body. And the reason you can't consciously know things from other lives that you've lived, past lives, future lives, the reason that you can't get information from your higher self up here is because each chakra is like a little black hole with an event horizon, and information cannot cross the event horizon out into 3D reality. The only way for you to access that information is to go beyond the event horizon as the singularity, the non-duality consciousness. You see. And that's where an Akashic record reader or a past life regressionist, that's where they're going. They get into that meditative state, and they put you into that meditative state to do that. Or when you get intuition, it's spiritual. It's a knowing. And again, I explained this in my video, Twin Flame Telepathy. I kind of went in depth in that video, what intuition really is, what versus what telepathy is, why they are different, what those things are, and how you can tell what the two things are if you were experiencing one of them. But you kind of can see like a rough outline. I hope I have explained well enough why I think chakras could be at least functionally similar to a black hole. It's kind of the same thing, because you have the phenomenon of gravity waves, and with law of attraction, you're putting attractive energy out, and a gravity wave is attractive energy moving out. And then also with a black hole, information cannot leave the black hole. It cannot escape the event horizon. Well, the same could be true of chakras. So information about your past lives or future lives, the reason you don't know it consciously is because it cannot escape from that energy system we call a chakra. It cannot cross the event horizon of the chakra, the outer border of the chakra. But in the middle of the chakra is the pure consciousness of self, non-duality, which again, in physics, at the center of a black hole, they call it a singularity, which is not duality. So I hope I've explained and re-explained enough times that you guys kind of get where I'm going with this and how I see these parallels, these functional similarities between what seems to be going on with chakras and black holes. And I don't know if this hypothesis is true, but I think it's a good one. I think it answers a lot of questions. And again, it does line up with what we know about physics, relativity, and even quantum physics. And that's what's so cool about this stuff. This is why I talk about this kind of stuff so much on this YouTube channel, guys, because, again, I'm so knowledgeable about science and engineering, quantum physics, relativity, all of those things, mathematics, and spiritualism. I'm so knowledgeable about it, and I don't think that's a mistake. I don't think that's an accident, because, you guys, I see the similarities between those two disciplines, and they are strikingly similar, which, duh. Of course they're going to be similar. Of course, because, guys, that you are a spiritual being who exists beyond the body and beyond the mind. It isn't crazy. We can prove these things, guys. We don't need to guess. You know, religion was man's early attempt to explain the supernatural. Well, that was the age of Pisces, the age of mystery. We are now in the age of Aquarius, the age of knowledge, of understanding, of science. We don't need to guess. We don't need to make things up. And I don't have any problem with people of days gone by who made things up, invented stories, religion, and these types of things, trying to explain things. What else were they supposed to do? You can't fault them for that. But guys, this is so exciting to be alive in this day and age, because we don't need to make stuff up anymore. We can prove this stuff. We can prove that you're totally fine, guys. Yes, it's really true. You are a soul. We can prove that. We can prove reincarnation. We can prove that there is telepathy. We can prove all of these things. And they match scientific laws perfectly. Guys, that's not an accident. And you got to take a step back from that and go, well, of course it does. If it's real, if these things are real, telepathy, metaphysics, and these types of things, well, of course they're going to comply with the laws of physics. Of course they are, if they're real, and they do. That's very exciting news indeed. Well, guys, I hope I've stimulated your mind today. You might try watching this video again if you're confused. Maybe it'll make more sense the second time through. But nice chat today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.